We are starting our show, I'll say, with a conversation that matters. And it's one that will have both sides of your family tree leaning in to learn. The truth is, anyone can have a relationship, right? Anyone can have a relationship, but not every relationship takes hold of your heart. And my first guest believes there is one relationship that should. Author and speaker Mary Jo Bell is on a quest to strengthen the grandparent connection, and she's observed there are 5 specific things grandparents can do to become genuinely close with their grandkids. Hello, Mary Jo. It's great to have you in studio.
Oh, it's so good to see you.
You bring such a light about you, and I know this work is something you feel called to do to inspire grandparents to dig in and connect. And the truth is, I'll say it this way, I think you can be a good grandma and not have a great bond. Like, you can kind of check the boxes and fill that role. Why do you feel a bond or a genuine closeness with your grandkids is so important?
The world's changed. So on our phones, kids are having experiences that maybe rob them of some self-esteem. But when you are bonded to your grandchild, you can offer self-esteem to them simply by being their friend and loving them and connecting with them. You can be the difference between, I don't know that I feel worthy, to yes, you absolutely do feel worthy. And we have tools that we've been working on for years that can bless them. We have tools in our toolboxes like patience and forgiveness and a true honesty and that pure love. And we can use all those tools to build and create these bonds. And we can do it for years now because we're living longer. So some grandparents will say to me, oh, I didn't even know my grandparents because that was in a time when they didn't live as long. Yeah. But now we can know our grandkids and our great-grandkids for decades, and we can be the difference in their lives.
What I hear you saying is you have something different to offer too. Like, you can be the difference because you have something different to share. And that longevity is such a blessed gift as well, that time with grandparents. So let's dive in. You have some ways specific ways that grandparents can form those bonds and make those connections. You say connections are formed when you can be patient and you can be forgiving.
Yes. And again, we've worked on those for decades. And I saw that happen with my own grandmother as a great example. So one time when I was about 7 with my Nana, who was a lot older, right? So we've got different ages of grandparents, but she was in the next room. I was sitting on her very expensive bedspread. It was that time where it was kind of popular to have this shiny bedspread, some polyester in there. Yeah. And so I'm painting my nails like you should never do when you're 7 years old, and using an acetone-based nail polish remover to take it off. Of course I would. Yeah. And of course I knocked it over, and of course it spilled, and of course it was instant science experiment as I watched that acetone just burn through like a river through the polyester. And of course, if you're 7, I was horrified.
Oh, yes.
And I knew my grandmother was patient, but I thought, this has got to push her over.
I've crossed the line.
I've crossed the line. And she came in, Brooke, and she just saw the horror on my face, and she just reached out and touched my hand, and she said, sweetheart, it's just a thing. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Don't. And I'm wiping away my tears, and she goes, it doesn't matter. It's just a thing. Yeah. And I remember thinking, I don't know that I'll ever forget this. And I haven't ever forgotten it all these years later. And it's helped me. She didn't know in that quiet personal moment between us that decades and decades later I would be exercising the same sort of benevolent patience with my grandchildren that she taught me by example. So we have powers.
You remember.
I remember.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
And we talk about the world being different. That's a forgiveness that the world may not offer us later in life, right? Yes. But Grandma did, or Nana did. Yes. Does consistency matter, Mary Jo?
It really does matter because we have the luxury now to be a little more consistent. Maybe we're still working, but we don't have a lot of little ones underfoot. And so we can get in there and read to them. That's one of my favorite things of all that I talk about in this next book that I'm writing too. But reading to them creates an incredible bond, teaches them morality lessons, all kinds of beautiful lessons. And we can do that over Zoom. We don't have to be in person. Sometimes I'll show up like the Nana Fairy, we've talked about that before, in a little set of wings from the dollar store and just go over there, and a lot of them live close, and just read books at night and run back home, and you can read, you can sing with them, you can do projects with them. But the most important thing you do is let them know non-verbally that they are truly, truly loved.
Through your actions. You have a special little connection with Clara, your granddaughter Clara, right? Yes. You have a little tradition that you're keeping up?
Yes, yes. Clara is earning, and by the way, hi Clara.
Hi Clara.
And Jackson, Diana, and all of you.
Oh, here
Clark,
it goes. Yeah.
Josh, you know, all of you are so important to me. And Lily, Sophia, Henry. Anyway, I don't want them to forget when they see this later. But yes, Claire and I have been working on a goal, and you can do this with your own grandkids. It's so easy. You just talk to their parents and say, what is a goal you'd like your child to maybe have? And maybe for some people it's better behavior. Maybe it's, you know, being a little more obedient. And so we've been working on this, and if she gets 100 points, she gets to come for a week and stay with grandma. And so she's almost there. Go Clara.
All right, so those regular connections, try to form those consistent connections. Your next suggestion might take nanas out of their comfort zone a little bit, but you want grandmas to sing more.
I do, you guys, you grandmas. Let me hold each of you by the shoulders and say, it's okay if you don't feel like you're a very good singer. But inside you is this little cheer up box called your ability to sing. You don't have to be a good singer.
A cheer up box, how cute.
So fun. But when you get together with them, let's say they're little and tiny and under your feet, and you've got a million things to do right there in your kitchen, but you want them to feel connected to you. So what I'll do sometimes is just take a song and then put 30 minutes. So for example, You Are My Sunshine. Maybe I'm singing to Jackson, and I would sing, you are my Jackson, my only Jackson. You make me happy when skies are gray. And I'll look right at Jackson, then I'll keep working, but I'll keep using that word Jackson
and it's his
in the song.
It becomes his song.
Yes, and you can do it with any song and any grandchild.
Oh, I love that so much. You mentioned your own grandma. You observed her do another something that was powerful. She said the kind and memorable thing. And just that phrase brings a little squeeze to my heart, the kind and memorable thing. Tell us what that sounded like.
It makes me a little teary too. I think grandmothers have, again, the luxury of really looking very deeply into a child's soul and seeing what is just really ideal about them, what is one of their greatest qualities. And I had a brother, Brian, who was a gentle and kind soul as a little boy, and she just grabbed onto that and reinforced that in him. And she would say, Brian, you are a peacemaker. And honestly, Brooke, he's tried to be a peacemaker all these years later. I think what happens is because grandparents are sort of like royalty, right? So when he said that, metaphorically, he sort of sat up a little straighter and a little taller, which I should be doing, and he internalized that, like, yes, I am a peacemaker.
I am a peacemaker.
Yeah, when it comes from someone on high, like a grandparent, that is so impactful, and it can go the other way too. We have to be careful, right? Sure. Because we don't want to use negative labels.
Well, it's interesting. You have me thinking of this trend, this movement toward personal affirmations, which I kind of scratched my head about, like, do I really need my child to stare in the mirror, right, and say these I statements? And I'm not undermining the power. I get it. I get what moms are trying to do.
Yes.
But more powerful if it comes from, like you said, that hero, that grandparent that says, no, you are. You are. Somehow I think we internalize that. Better, deeper?
100%, 100%. And can you just see it, even a teenager who's maybe gone off the rails a little bit, or, you know, we've got that perspective as grandparents that they're coming back, or that little child that's misbehaved, when they do that, they can still say to themselves, I am worthy because even if I don't believe in me, I know my Nana believes in me. That's powerful.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. I had a grandma like that, and you're going to make me cry because that makes me think of her. It's been said that everyone needs one person in their life who loves them irrationally, like no matter what, all the way, all in, and you think that should be grandma.
Absolutely, or grandpa, because you've got the ability to do that like no other. Again, we've practiced those decades with those tools that we talked about, and you've also got that zoom out perspective where you can just see it's okay if you're not doing super well in this area. We've seen evolving, bumbling adolescents. We've seen a temper tantrum or 10,000. We've seen it all. And so we're not going to get really fazed by all those expectations. We're just going to go, oh, okay, well, that's just part of your journey, and I love you irrationally. And even if other people think that doesn't even make sense that you love that kid right now, you know why it makes sense. You know the outcome. You know where this is going. You know the end of the road. And you adore the heck out of them.
Oh, Mary Jo, I love your words. I love your perspective. I love this mission. Your book, The Pursuit of Happiness, is a Costco bestseller. You also host a podcast called Moms Meet World. Where can we learn more about all of these wonderful projects?
You can go to maryjobell.com and you'll find everything.
All right, we'll meet you there. Thank you.
Thank you so
much
Brooke.
for sharing your light.